Okay, so we're now recording. So this is Brent Mills. I'm the chair of the SAGE Circulation Committee. This is our kind of monthly meeting. This is for September, and it's the 14th. All right, so far on the attendee list, I see Heidi, Maura, Rose, and Delia. Are there any more people present that I'm just not seeing? Or maybe not. Okay. All right, so welcome everybody. Sorry about yesterday. It was supposed to happen around 10, but I had to start work a little earlier due to EOU having some kind of networking issues that ended up affecting Sage. But that was resolved towards the later parts of the morning, and then I made my way over to Hood River, by which point it was a little too late for the meeting. So thank you for coming on the rescheduled time. So kind of the first agenda item is to just set the next meeting time. And we've kind of been doing every second or third Wednesday. For October, I see the 11th would be a Tuesday as well. Although today is a little different. So is Tuesday, October 11th, okay for everyone here that's in attendance? I didn't see any schedule conflicts that I could find on SageLib, but I could just be missing some. Okay. All right, so looks like that works. Put that in there. Okay. All right, so just some quick updates about sagelib.org in general. Sometimes I'll put links in listserv posts or emails to other people as well. And if you go to some of those links, some of the content may be hidden from you if you're not authenticated as a staff member. So for people coming on after, I think it's kind of good practice maybe if you're going to be looking from a staff perspective at sagelib.org, which you would be for the most part unless you were a patron kind of wondering about patron kind of help issues, would be that every time you go to sagelib.org, I'm already authenticated now, but let's see, the way you would do that would be to click on that staff link right there and then enter the staff username and the password, which I'm not going to say right now because we're recording this and putting it on YouTube, but I can share that in chat after the meeting as well. So once you do log in, you will be presented with this kind of interface where you'll be able to see the recent posts and materials as well. I know for the circulation committee, once you click on that link, if you're not logged in, you will likely not see the kind of running list of minutes. So that's just something to kind of consider if you're going to be clicking on links with sagelib.org. All right, and kind of, I assume maybe part of the reason you guys are here, I've upgraded our test server to the newest, bleeding edge beta of Evergreen, which is 2.11 beta. It should be entering kind of, they call it Gold Master, but the 2.11.0 fairly soon. I can see them talking about it in the developer channel. And with 2.11, we'll still have the option for those who would like it of the staff client, but the web client will also be more prominently featured. So I thought I'd walk through a few kind of events, mainly focusing kind of on the Circ aspect due to our committee, but just briefly walking over the cataloging as well. You can do this, kind of follow the same steps as well on our normal catalog, which is catalog.sage.eou.edu, but it is an outdated version, so a lot of what you see there will not be reflected in the updates coming with 2.11. A lot of things have changed. So I'm just going to bounce on over to the test server now, and we'll look at creating a copy in Bibs. And I understand this will probably need some training, maybe in a general way when we get to it, because I was a little confused myself when I was going through the process. So this is what the it will look like, and you can get there through this address. So for instance, if I'm at the normal catalog, this is the test server, by the way, I would simply take that OPAC home away and replace it with staff. Sometimes it's a little testy if you need that last slash, but you shouldn't need it for the test server right now. Then it will ask you to authenticate with your Evergreen information. Keep in mind this is the test server, so there's only one staff account now, which is EG-admin2. The password for that is admin. And we'll sign in. And then we're presented with this screen here. So I said we'd start with the kind of cataloging aspect of it. So what we'll do is do something pretty simple and just pull in a record from Z39. So you can kind of already tell that the cataloging interface looks quite a bit different than it does in the staff client. So for example, if I just choose Library of Congress, I guess Twilight maybe will bring me something. Just doing a search randomly here. I haven't set up any of our Sage specific stuff since it's the test server. And we'll just see what we can get. So we see all these Library of Congress records. And you'll see kind of on this section of the screen, this will be available for most interface options. This Actions one is the button tab you'll most likely want to do, as it contains most of the actionable items. But you can also set how many rows you want to display and some other things. So I will pull in, it's not exactly the Twilight I was thinking, but this one's got an ISBN, so I'll just pull this in by double clicking it. Oops, sorry. By importing it. And you'll see it'll tell you the ID. We can go right to that record. And it loads up this summary screen right here. And I have set for my station the holdings view tab to be the default one, which you could probably do if you're a cataloger and it'd be a good idea. But you could also click on any of these tabs and click set default view, and that will be where it defaults to when it loads the record. So we can look at the OPAC view, and there's our record. brought in right there. Oops, back to the OPAC view. No items on it yet. It looks pretty similar to, it's almost an exact copy of what you would see in the OPAC. I'm not entirely sure if this is what it's going to look like at the end, but they basically pulled in the OPAC screen and are showing it to you right here. So to add items, let's go to Holdings View. Where was it? Go to Actions again. Add volumes and copies. This is where it got a little tricky for me because it will automatically load you a call number, give you one copy, kind of if you're doing it in batch as well. We'll set the owning library to Hood River High School. Put that in there. Put the barcode, something simple. You'll see the item status kind of area or item attributes changed quite a bit as well. Give it a circulating modifier. I don't think we need to do much else here. You can add a copy note if you want for it. Statistical categories, but none of those are set up right now. And then what we'll do is click store selected, which should load it into the working copies. Yep. So after you've hit store selected, it will put it into your completed copies area here. And we can double click on that. Sorry. Save completed. And now, if we go back to that title, which we can do by just saving and exiting, and going to the OPAC view, probably need to refresh this. All right. Well, this is not going exactly how I wanted it to. But well, maybe that doesn't work as well as I wanted it to. I'm not going to keep you here looking at this for a long time, but you still see it's needs a little work to it. But and I've only been starting to look at this yesterday. The item would go in here. Sorry about not being able to get that in. I got that in yesterday, but it seems to be a little bit funky here. But that is, the adding a MARC record is similar to the kind of past process, but I want to troubleshoot through all this before we go live with it, obviously. Just kind of doing a walkthrough with everyone here. And so with the circ though, that was the first sprint of the web client. So this is pretty well done. So if I go back to the web client and do a search there, we'll see our bibs come up, and I've added some items already in the staff client. And so it looks pretty similar. You would search as if you were searching more or less just in the OPAC. And if you do get to a record you want to edit, you would click on it and then be able to edit the holdings through the holdings view, which here it's working, and edit the MARC, which you can kind of see still have your flat text editor. And you're also to do a fast item add if you want. And validating, we'll check those authority links. You can go back to your search results. Maybe not. Okay. So that was kind of just searching. Searching is more or less the same. But to check out an item, you'd bring up the patron same way you usually do. We'll just do the admin account here. And you'll see there's already a lot of rows here and it looks pretty jangled up. And you can edit that by this. This is kind of what the column picker was. So if I want to remove, I don't know, something like alert message or bill number, I can do that from this tab. And so what I would do is find that barcode right there. Go to Le Concerto. And again, this is going to be obviously more refined as it gets finished. This is 0 customizations done to it. This is how it comes stock currently in the beta form. So go back to that checkout screen. And check out that barcode. And there it is. And you'll have the option to do multiple receipts. You can email the receipt to the patron or print it, which is pretty nice. Yeah, so that's kind of what it looks like now. And it will, once I'm able to get in there and tweak it, you'll be able to see things a little kind of more sagey as you're used to seeing them. And then the last bit would be registering a patron for circulation. That's a big part of your time. So you'd click register a patron, and you can kind of see it's the same kind of information fields here, but you're just presented with a kind of different look for it. You can show only the required fields if you're wanting to just put in the bare minimum, fields that are suggested, or just all the fields that are available for the patron registration. You can kind of see even there's a new option here to email checkout receipts by default. If you want a patron to just get their receipts by default, you can just click that box, and every time they check out a book, they'll just be emailed that as opposed to having to print it, which is a nice new feature. And the second part of this, I think, was the admin module, which is the least ported of all. You can kind of see right now if I go into any of the admin tabs, like the closed dates editor, it's a mirror image more or less of what the staff client currently looks like. And I believe it's the same for reports as well, if we went out here. Yeah, see the interface is pretty similar there. So I'm hoping this gets pretty much finitoed by the time of our next upgrade cycle. And again, feel free to play around with this. You're not going to be breaking anything on the test server. There's no patron identifying information in here yet. You would just log into this address on the test server, and then use EGAdmin2 and admin as your login and password. And I'll be getting this set up as we near upgrade time as well. And for the upgrade, Beth isn't here, but I believe last year we did it kind of on a January-May cycle. So I was kind of hoping this year we could do more or less the same, and 2.11 should be finished pretty well by then. And other libraries will have been on it already, so they can kind of also bug test for us, which is nice. So I'm thinking kind of around January for that. And yeah, feel free to let me know if you have any more questions about the web client. It is a work in progress. There's parts about it I don't even know yet, but I'd love to work through it with anyone who's interested. Okay, so kind of moving on from the web client. Right, I see Claire is here. Is that, all right, so speed improvements. There's been some speed improvements on record searches for items that are not scoped to a Baker branch, because Baker signs up for Novelist. So now if you, for instance, if I go to this record dog, in our current catalog, you'll see there's this awards, reviews, and suggested read section. That was pulling in information regardless of where it was scoped prior. And it would only matter to Baker patrons, because if you're on Baker, you're able to see that kind of novelist info when it comes up. You can see that right here. But now that's not being loaded, so there's a kind of noticeable speed bump for people that aren't using Baker's catalog modifications. Right. And I guess, kind of asking people that are here in the committee, I fielded a few questions from libraries, but has there been any negative or positive feedback regarding the removal of the volume hold option for patrons in the OPAC? Okay, I'm seeing on chat that there hasn't been any feedback about it, which I guess could be good. We've okay. And Claire says at Harney County, there's been a few complaints from savvy patrons that would check due dates. Okay. Yeah, and Claire, feel free to let me know about any other complaints you're receiving from patrons or staff as well. I've seen a lot of reduction in already our lost holds or hopeless holds reports regarding the copy and volume holds. There's still some that will appear due to staff members placing them and something happening, but for the most part, it's been a fair reduction in that. All right. Okay. Claire said they thought they could get a faster copy if they waited for our copy. In some instances, that could be true. I actually broke it down for one library when they were worried that they were getting materials unnecessarily from other libraries, able to see that those copies were in fact the only copy that could have fulfilled that hold, and that their shelf was otherwise unable to provide that. So we could kind of do a look like that if you'd like as well, Claire. That would be something to kind of just entertain and look at. Yeah, and with the title level, there is an option. There is kind of a failover, which is if that item does go missing or lost, that they're able to kick over to the next item in line, which I hope has been working pretty well. Okay, and at the kind of moving on from that, on the last meeting, we talked, or the meeting before last, we talked about a lost and damaged form for items that are lost, or for the most part damaged at other libraries. And then they have to invoice the library, that had that item go lost in the first place. So basically how to get payment for a damaged item that happened at a different library. And I've heard some feedback from Hood River just because I've been there and kind of forced them to look at it a little bit, but the form currently is available at this address, which I'll put in the chat, which is also linked in the lost or damaged form right there in the agenda. And kind of currently, just to walk through it, you would put in, I'm trying to still figure out how this would work, what libraries are currently doing. I haven't heard a lot. I've just been hearing that there's been want of a form for how to invoice other libraries. So for instance, you would put in your library name. You are the person that's sending this to the library for remittance, or for payment. So you would contact, so for instance, I'd put in, Hood River, Oregon, the contact name, contact email, and then you select an issue after which things populate. So for example, if it's a damaged item, I would click on that, figure out when that item went damaged. You can kind of make up a date right now. Say it went damaged on that date. I was a little unsure about what to do with the library info, if we really need to have lending library name. The borrowing library name is the same as your library name, so that might be redundant. But the lending library name would be, where it was kind of sent from the owning library. So that could be, Baker County, and this could be Hood River yet again. And then just some item information to kind of help fill out the form. And you would go through this, put in a barcode. If there's no barcode, you don't have the barcode, so there's other options to kind of fill out information about it. That would be, for instance, the barcode was shredded off, but you knew from the tag that it belonged to a specific library. But for the most part, that would be left unchecked. And then if the item has already been sent back, you've already returned it, but this is just for kind of bookkeeping purposes, or it's too damaged, it's fully destroyed. And then what that cost was as defined by the library. And then last, circulating patron. And the only ones that are required are those with that red asterisk. And there's also additional information if you want to put that in. If you need to have a picture or just some more text to send, that's an option. And at the end, you'll be able to email that form to the library that you want. So these are all set based on what the entries are in Evergreen. And I've tried to match those up with our member map as well. So those would be sent to whatever address, for instance, you're sending holds from. And we can change this as well, hold information from. And then you would preview, look at it, and then send it off, and it would email that account. But then you also have the option to log in and view your previous submissions. So you can kind of see, I've done this for Joanne. That's what it would look like if you wanted to print it out, for example. So I was just kind of basically looking for feedback on what would make this form easier or better for patrons that, or sorry, library staff that want to get payment kind of for a lost item. I was kind of figuring it on my own because I'm not sure of what the process is right now. Claire, can this be linked with the catalog so you have the space for the barcode? No, sagelib.org is it's separate. The website and all our other services are separate from Evergreen. Yeah, so that is not possible right now to link the barcode and have it autofill based on that information. I tried to make it kind of as as easy to kind of fill in as possible. For instance, you only need the title and the barcode. There shouldn't be a whole lot there. But yeah, it's not possible to autofill that because it can't talk to the Evergreen database. Yeah. Oh, and the reason Claire had to not scan the barcode is because a lot of barcodes scanners have what's known as a carriage return at the end. It's why when you scan in an item, it automatically kind of hits that enter for you. So if you scan in an item, depending on how your barcode's set, it will already click this and send you straight to the preview. So you'll lose out on a lot of information even when you're probably not finished. Plus, it also helps with misscans. I've seen a lot of misscans happen with barcodes. You can scan it in. I mean, it's kind of at your own risk, but to make sure the integrity of that barcode is what it is, I usually recommend just putting it in. Hopefully there's not a whole lot of need for the damaged form, but that does make sure that it's put in there correct. You could scan if you want, but I just wouldn't want it completing the form too early. It also gives you a kind of timeline of where you are on the form. So yeah, please feel free to let me know what you don't like or do like about this. That was my first attempt at kind of trying to figure out what would work for most libraries. Any information is great. I welcome it. And this, yeah. So once it's finished, it's not linked out on the main page because I don't want people to start getting emails randomly without knowing why and before it's finished. But that's the address for it if you want to look at it right now. And you'll have to be authenticated as staff as well. Okay. All right. So yeah, just let me know. Same as here. And then with the self-check button layout, I got an email from Legrand about how the self-check buttons were laid out. So for example, the print list button used to be over here, which was causing confusion for their patrons when they were trying to log out. And so I just went ahead and moved that button just to the left side, which is what they were kind of advising or looking at as an option. There's also another option to kind of make that log out with receipt, if that would help, so that patrons know that when they click log out that they'll be able to get a receipt. So for instance, if I log in, now you'll see that print list hovering above the checkout items, whereas these actions are over in their own section here. So log out with receipt would clarify it. That's true. The only reason I was kind of a little bit hesitant with that is that if we did change that, it's going to throw off the layout a little bit. So for instance, let's see like right there, I'm going to have to do it's quite a bit larger with receipt. And I'm not sure if for most people, do you think that the receipt option is what they would want as the default, or is the no receipt kind of a default that most patrons are expecting? Okay, I'm hearing from Heidi that most would like it with a receipt. Patrons do learn that logout gets them a receipt. Yeah. Okay, I think with Rosie, you're also, I'm not sure if it was you or Ryan, but and Delia's mentioned if we can put the with receipt and without receipt portions of the wording to a smaller font size. We could. I'd want to check that what it looks like on. I'm not sure what everyone's station looks like. I know that as soon as I change the font size on this, it goes down quite a bit. I could. Let's see. There is, yeah, I could make that smaller. Maybe we could even just portion the wording. Yeah, I could try to figure out how to put that within the string. Yeah, do libraries have any kind of signage around their self-check station? Or is it just kind of a computer that's just set up, touchscreen or otherwise? And the receipt portion size, change all entry. Portion size. Change the whole entry. I'm not entirely certain what you mean, Delia, but if I just add new wording to that button, it won't change any behavior. It'll just make it look, the text will look bigger inside that button icon. Yeah. Okay, Morris says they have a sign reminding people to log out. Okay. So you want the with receipt. Are you kind of thinking about, I mean, that would definitely effect. I'm not a huge fan of changing, just have one size. What we could also do, yeah, it would fit, but it would look pretty funky, I think. Like, for example, if I just put that in there real quick. As an example. And then modify that size to be, 12px, or it'd have to go quite a bit smaller. I don't know if you can see that on the screen there. The default for the button size right now is 12. Or sorry, it's 13. Does that home button have to be there? That's kind of a good point, Claire. That home button does not. Let me put that about back to normal. The home button does not have to be there. It's set up after, as you can kind of see all these annoying, do you still want your, oh, I see what you're talking about, within the text itself, like have this section be 12 point and then the no receipt section be smaller size. Yeah, I could look at that. There's probably a way to do that within a button. And we can't really do over hover effects because these are for the most part set for a touch screen. But that home button, all that really is doing is refreshing this. It's not doing a whole lot. That's a good point, Claire. So what we could actually have is if I removed this home button, kind of just show you what that would look like really quick. I'll have to figure out the padding there. But it would be, you would be having, I could stack these a little differently too, but you would have a, log out. We could set that back to with receipt. Sorry, there's a section of the screen I can't see. And then, yeah, we could move that a little bit, a little bit over to the left. This is a real hacky way to do it, but something like that. I think maybe just people are kind of used to having a home button. But yeah, that is definitely an option. I don't know, has anyone else have any thoughts about removing that home option if it is going to refresh the screen every 90 seconds? If that would be easier for some. I could also increase the padding so that there's more room between these two. Heidi mentioned it looks a little cluttered with the extra text. That's true. So just kind of as a comparison. Yeah, that's a quick check, Delia. Just doing. And you want to. So Heidi's mentioning kind of at a quick glance that she's seeing logout and receipt in both. So that kind of with and no isn't exactly a good kind of hint. I kind of, at least kind of from what I was just thinking before I moved into this, was that there could, if when you see that there's no receipt option, I kind of understand that when I click log out, there will be a receipt if it's explicitly stated that there's no option there. I was thinking besides doing the changing the buttons themselves, maybe a sticker or something like that on the, I could put something on the page, or we could just put something on the self-check station that kind of mentions when you click log out, you'll get a receipt. That's another option too. Yeah, so it seems like kind of there's a split decision on that right now. Okay, so there is kind of an agreement that it looks cleaner as it is right now. What would kind of increasing the, again, this is what it looks like on my computer. It'll probably look different depending on what your self-check station looks like. They lay them out in their own way a little bit. Would increasing the kind of padding or the space between these buttons kind of make it a little easier? I think I remember something about people inadvertently clicking this one when they meant this one, the log out, instead of the one with receipt. Rows. So I could, actually I won't make you guys sit through all this stuff, but yeah, I can increase the space on that just a little bit. That would definitely be a quick change. And I believe even with 211, there's going to be an option for emailed receipts. So there might be some button changings coming with that, but I'd have to look into that a bit more prior to our upgrade. Okay. All right, so I will add some more space to that. Put that on the form. Okay. All right, thanks for sitting through that with me, everybody. That was good. Some good feedback on that. Okay, with the holds training, I feel like this is kind of always on there, but I've been getting pulled away with other projects and haven't had time to finish that just yet. I will be more diligent about getting that set up. That needs to get finished a little bit sooner than later. Speaking, since it's about well, halfway, I'd say about done right now. And then it's the on display. So the on display status from our last meeting, we had Baker was wondering if their on display status, so the item status on display, if that could be set to holdable. It's currently set to be not holdable, so items in that status are not eligible. And I did a quick lookup as to which libraries have items with that. Baker being the overwhelming majority here, and some of these libraries that have 4, 2, or 1 I feel that could just be an accident, or they have very small displays. That could also be true. So I went through and I've emailed Amy Hutchinson at Lake County, since they had the largest number of on display items that weren't Baker's. And once I hear back from her, I will act accordingly. But for the most part now, if you have been using on display, which I don't think anyone here is listed in this library list, but note that at present, those items are currently set to be not holdable. But I think he was wanting for items that were on display if they could kind of gather holds before they were taken out of that. So I'm just kind of waiting to hear back, and I think after that, barring any changes, that the on display status will likely become holdable. As I haven't heard any kind of negative feedback about that, and nobody really is using that status short of Baker. And then once I hear back from some more people, and when I'm at Hood River next week, I think I can corner Joanne and Michelle to help me as well. Or if, what would really help is if some libraries have examples of what they've been sending to other libraries to trying to get payment for a lost item, or just the form in general. That would help me. So I will be working on that as well. I'll be loading actual Sage items in the test server. It's been a little difficult because our space is extremely constrained. Like think about 1/16 of the size of our current database. So it's hard to fit in as much as I'd like to. So we might have to just do with bibs and items presently. Because currently there's just the default concerto set, which is why I typed in concerto, which is 100 bibs and items based on the concerto set. So those are obviously not reflective of our library. And then I will add more space to that logout button region. I'll increase it gradually at first. One thing to note is, depending on how you have your self-check station set up, and I'm not sure which browser people are using, but you might have to refresh it a few times to pull in the new styling for these buttons, because sometimes that's cached locally on your browser to make things faster to load. So you might have to refresh that a few times to see the addition of those spaces. Okay, I think I've got everything. All right. That was kind of all I really had. I've been focusing mainly on getting us ready for that change, and figuring out what I can do to make it as painless as possible. Also, for the Sage User Council meeting that's coming up, I'm going to try and aggregate some circulation and hold data that have been pulled in from these automated reports. I'm going to try to figure out a way to put these into some visualization software so we can actually see what trends are like on a weekly and monthly basis. I thought that might be interesting to look at, kind of give you an idea of what Sage has been doing at your own library. All right. And that's most that I really have. Are there any, I should have, I usually say this. Are there any other comments or concerns or things that I've glazed over or didn't mention that people would like me or like to talk about? Okay. Well, I'm always available through email or the ticket site. Um, yeah, so feel free to let me know. And yeah, thank you, everyone. If anyone here does feel like they would be, they have some opinions about that lost form, I'd love to field those questions and hopefully work on you to get it better, as well as people if they want to work with me on the web client, because there are certain parts of that that need some work right now. So I'd recommend not using that if you're at all capable for production. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Hope you have a nice week, and I'll put this up soon on sagelib.org. Thank you.